There are nights when you are so tired you only want to collapse into bed, but the moment your back touches the pillow, old stories line up and start to come back. Tonight, your small apartment is so quiet you can hear the air conditioner humming on the wall. The light from your phone screen spills up onto the ceiling. Outside the window, a few cars pass on a road wet with yellow streetlights. Everything around you looks normal, only what is inside does not feel normal. You are not just tired, you are in pain, the kind of pain no one can see. A sentence from years ago is still lodged somewhere in your chest. You are too sensitive. You ask for too much. No one wants to stay with someone like you for long. Maybe it was a time you were left alone in the middle of an argument, a time you were seen and then ignored forever. A long message where you poured your heart out, and the reply from the other side was a few cold words. You're lying in bed, your hands scrolling mindlessly through old chats that ended a long time ago. Names that do not show up here anymore. Photos the two of you once took together that now only make your chest tighten. And in your head, that familiar voice starts talking again. If only I had not said that. If only I had stayed quiet, things would not have gotten so bad. There must be something wrong with me for them to treat me that way. You stare at the black phone screen, seeing your own face reflected in the dark glass. For a moment you ask yourself, when did I start believing that I am the one at fault in every story? You do not need anyone outside to analyze it. You have already taken the side of the people who hurt you, then turned around and attacked yourself. You are not just remembering the past, you are reliving the old feelings, as if the wound has been opened again. Maybe it is an ex, maybe it is a family member, maybe it is a friend, a boss, a relationship that on the surface is over, but inside you it is still completely there. Tonight, in this quiet room, you may not be able to name everything that happened. You only know this. Your chest feels heavy, your throat feels tight, and a part of you has not had the chance to heal. If tonight you feel like that, if you see yourself as weak, broken, overreacting, too emotional, I want to say something very simple to you. It is okay. It is okay if at this hour you still hurt over things that are supposed to be in the past. There's nothing wrong if one sentence, one abandonment, one silence from years ago still makes your eyes sting when you lie alone in the dark. Emotional wounds do not disappear just because time passes. They simply learn how to lie quieter, deeper, until nights like this, when the noises outside fade and the sounds inside become clear. You do not have to rush yourself into being fine again. You do not have to shut down your feelings just because tomorrow you have to wake up early for work, put on a smile for your coworkers, and answer emails like nothing ever happened. Tonight, you are allowed to not be okay. You are allowed to admit, yes, I still hurt, and I am not here to tell you, stop thinking about it. Just let it go. Move on, it is old news. I know if it were that simple, you would not be here right now in this room, with city lights seeping through the curtains, listening to a stranger's voice on the internet just to find a little bit of quiet. Tonight, I am not going to erase your memories. I'm not going to turn you into someone who is suddenly strong, does not feel anything, or never gets hurt again. We are going to do something different. We are going to sit with those wounds, not with the panicked eyes of someone screaming, but with eyes that are a little calmer, like a Stoic looking at their own life from the inside. We will look again at the things that broke you, the sentences that cut into you, the times people walked away when you needed them the most. But this time, we will not stand on the side of the ones who hurt you. We will stand on your side. Tonight, slowly, we will call the wound by its name so we can see what it really is, how it has wrapped itself around you, and how it no longer has to define your entire identity. You are still someone who was hurt, but you are not only that wound. This is not a magic session that makes everything okay in one night. This is a small journey, very quiet, very slow, for you to start feeling your inner strength again. The part of you that kept you alive until now, even though you have lived through more than people think. If you can put your phone down next to you, adjust your pillow, pull the blanket a little higher. Feel the weight of your body on the mattress. Listen to the air conditioner, the faraway traffic, the way your apartment is breathing together with you. Tonight, we do not need to fix every wound. We do not need to forgive anyone in a hurry. We do not need to understand every reason why things happened the way they did. We only need one thing: to let your mind slow down long enough for you to see yourself more clearly in your own story, and to keep your old wounds from swallowing you whole the way they used to. For the rest of tonight, I will walk with you step by step. We will separate what is the original pain and what is the suffering you unintentionally added on top. We will relearn how to draw boundaries, how to separate yourself from what other people did to you. And slowly, we will see that inner strength is not pretending you were never hurt, but being able to look straight at that wound, touch it, and still choose to live gently with yourself. For now, that is enough. You are in this room. You are lying on this bed. You have made it through so many hard days to reach tonight. And tonight, you do not have to sit alone with those wounds anymore. I will sit here with you by your side through this long night. The rest of it we will talk about right after this. When we talk about a wound, we usually think about things we can see: a cut on your hand, a bruise on your leg, a bone that once broke and now has healed, but still aches when the weather turns cold. Emotional wounds are harder to see, but they are just as real as a deep cut. They are not on your skin. They live in the way you feel about yourself after you are rejected, after you are humiliated, after you are abandoned at the exact moment you needed someone the most. If you look back over your life, there will be a few snapshots like that. One evening in the living room, you are sitting on the couch, hearing the person you love say, "I don't think I can do this anymore." Everything after that sentence turns blurry. All that remains is the feeling that you were left behind. One afternoon at the office, you are standing in a meeting room while your boss makes a sarcastic remark about you in front of the whole team. Someone gives an awkward laugh. You laugh awkwardly too, but inside it feels like something has dropped. A time when you were little, you told a family member how you felt. They looked at you and threw out a line, "Don't make everything such a big deal." From then on, every time you feel hurt, you also lower your own voice and say to yourself, "I am probably overreacting." Snapshots like that, if they were just neutral memories, might fade, but they come with a very strong feeling. I am not good enough. I do not deserve love. I am a burden. I am always the problem. That feeling is the wound. It does not just replay what others did to you. It quietly adds a conclusion about who you are. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it." At first, it can sound like the Stoic message is, Do not be sad, you are just overthinking. But if you read more carefully, Marcus does not deny the pain. He points to something very important. Between this thing happened and this is what I believe it means about me, there is a gap. And that gap is where the wound is created, or where it can be healed. Imagine you are sitting in your small apartment. You just closed your laptop after a long day. Your phone is lying face down on the table. City lights are seeping softly through the curtains. You remember a time your ex said very cruel things to you. That story can be told in many ways. One way is, they treated me like trash. That proves I have no value. Another way is, they treated me like trash. That shows me very clearly what kind of person they are, and that I need to step out of that story to protect myself. Same event, same sentence. But the estimate, the meaning you assign, is completely different. Emotional wounds are not only what happened to me, they are the version of the story you have repeated to yourself for so long that you believe it is the truth about you. Someone who was cheated on in a relationship can carry one of two stories. I was so stupid, I deserved it. Or, I put my heart into someone who did not deserve it. That hurt me, but it does not define my worth. A child who grows up in a home full of criticism and sarcasm can carry. There is something wrong with me from the start. I am something that needs to be fixed. Or, I was born into a place that could not understand me. That hurt me, but it is not my nature. Between those two versions, the depth of the wound and whether it can heal are very different. Stoics do not say, that thing does not hurt you. They ask, which story are you using to live with it? In therapy, therapists sometimes ask a very simple question. If the exact same thing happened to a friend you love, what would you say to them? It is interesting that most of us would speak to our friend much more gently, much more kindly than the way we speak to ourselves. So an emotional wound is not only about the past, it is also about how you treat yourself every day when you bring that story up again. You may be lying on your bed, staring at the ceiling in the dark, but inside there is another version of you. Smaller, more fragile, from many years ago, still sitting in some corner of your memory, hugging their knees, not understanding why it all happened. Every time you say to yourself, "You are so stupid," you deserved it. You're going back there, not to hold that child, but to yell at them one more time. That is how the wound keeps going. Tonight, in this room, you can try a different angle. An emotional wound does not mean I am broken. It means there were things that happened outside your control, and a part of you tried to make sense of them. You told yourself a story so you could survive. That story may not have been fair to you. That story may have made you hurt more. But it always came from one attempt. I need to understand what this is, or I will lose my mind. That is why Stoics start with recognition. A wound is not a life sentence. It is a story that can be looked at again, rewritten little by little. You do not have to force yourself to forgive or erase the pain right away. Tonight, it is enough to glance at your wound in a different way, with less judgment of yourself, with less loyalty to the people who hurt you. We will keep clarifying that when we talk about a very important pair of ideas, pain and suffering, because very often what exhausts you every night is no longer the original pain, but all the layers of suffering you have added on top of it. If you pay attention, you will notice something. The nights when your wounds hurt the most often are not the days when something big happened. There was no new huge argument today, No email that destroyed your career. No one walked out on you this afternoon. You still went to work. You still answered messages. You still said, "I'm fine," when someone asked, "How are you?" But when the lights go off, when you lie still in your room, when the sound of traffic softens, your chest still feels as if someone put a heavy stone on it. That is when pain and suffering begin to separate. Pain, the original hurt, the day you were betrayed, the evening you were yelled at, shamed, humiliated, the moment you heard, "I don't love you anymore." Suffering, everything that happens after that, the nights you replay that scene, the sentences you throw at yourself, the times you use that event as proof that you have no value. Seneca said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." Tonight, reality is you are lying on a bed, under a blanket, in a quiet apartment. But in your imagination, you are standing again at the exact place where it all broke. You hear those words again. You see that look again. You feel the shame, the humiliation, the abandonment, as if it is happening for the first time. Your body is not very good at telling the difference between memory and now. Every time you hit replay, your heart beats faster, your palms get a little damp, your stomach tightens. Not because someone is hurting you right this second, but because your brain is playing an old film. You are not weak. You are not overreacting. You simply have an emotional system that is very loyal. It keeps sounding the alarm. We were hurt here once. I'm afraid it will happen again. Stoics do not shrug and say, "It was nothing, just get over it." They admit, yes, that day was bad enough that it still hurts now. But they also gently add a question. In everything that is happening in my head tonight, what is the original pain, and what is the part I am unknowingly adding on? Let us try a small exercise right here while you're lying down. Think of one very specific scene that hurt you. A day in the office when your boss said something that made you want to disappear. An evening in your ex's apartment when they stood at the door and ended the relationship. A dinner with your family where someone used you as a joke in front of everyone. Give your memory a few seconds to bring that scene back, like a short clip. No need to slow it down, no need to analyze. Just note, this is pain. This is the real hurt that happened. Then, instead of continuing into, "I was so stupid, I deserved it," you pause for a moment and bring your attention back to the room you are in now. The sound of the air conditioner or the fan, the way the light from outside filters through the curtains and lands faintly on the ceiling, the feeling of the mattress holding your back, the blanket getting a little heavier on your body. That clip still exists. It is part of your past. You do not have to pretend it never happened. But you are not standing in it anymore. You are lying here. That tiny distance between watching again and living it again is where suffering can shrink a little. Pain is the old story, the original wound. Suffering is how much space you let it take up tonight. You cannot roll time back. You cannot delete that clip from the history of your life, but you can turn down its volume in the present. Instead of letting it flood the whole screen, you can put it in a smaller frame while the rest of the screen belongs to your breathing, your body on the bed, the things that are still safe in your life, the things you have already survived. This is not magic. It will not turn tonight into a night where you do not feel anything at all. But it does something very important. It keeps you from making yourself bleed more. Every time the memory of an old wound shows up, we usually add another layer of suffering. That happened, so clearly no one can ever love me. That happened, so I will definitely be abandoned again. That happened, so there must be something wrong with me at my core. You may not be able to stop the memory from appearing, but you can try to change the sentence that comes after it. Instead of, "That is proof that I am not worthy," you can try, "That is proof that I gave my heart to something. It was not treated right, and that hurt me, but it does not say everything about me." Instead of, "I will definitely get hurt like that again," you can try, "Yes, I might be hurt again, but I have learned a lot from last time. I am different now, I have more boundaries, I understand myself more." The difference between those sentences is not about sugarcoating or denying reality. It is this. One sentence keeps pushing the knife deeper into the wound. The other sentence starts to bandage it. Suffering is all the times you go back, pick up the knife someone else used, and stab the same place again, then say, "This is my fault." Tonight, you do not have to do that. Try to let your shoulders soften. Notice where you are tightening your body, your jaw, your neck, your shoulders, your stomach. Each time you find a place that is tense, just breathe out a little longer, as if you are putting that stone down on the bed. Breathe in through your nose, slowly, hold gently at the top. Then breathe out long, letting the air carry some of the tension out with it. Each breath like that is a tiny choice. I choose to stay in this room, not in that old room from that day. Pain says, "On that day I was hurt." Suffering often whispers, "And from then on I deserve to hurt forever." Stoicism cannot erase the first sentence, but it can help you stop the second one. If tonight you do only one very small thing, let it be this. Give yourself permission to carry a little less suffering instead of trying to live as if there were never any pain. You do not have to pretend you were never wounded. You only need to stop stabbing yourself again. In the next part, we will go deeper into a very familiar layer of suffering. The feeling that everything is your fault. That habit of taking on all the responsibility, even the part that belongs to others, is what keeps the wound from ever closing. For now, let your body rest for a few breaths. You are still here in the present. The past can speak, but it is no longer the only voice that gets to talk. There is a very exhausting kind of pain. It is not only about what people did to you, it is about how, from that point on, you quietly decided that everything was your fault. You lie on your bed, looking up at the ceiling, and your mind opens a closed trial inside your head. On the defendant's chair, it is you. On the judge's chair, it is also you. The audience below, criticizing and mocking, are still the voices in your own mind. No one else needs to accuse you. You already do that to yourself every night. You replay that breakup from that year. You remember every sentence you said. You remember when you cried, when you got angry, when you begged. In tonight's trial, you do not mention the things the other person did, the times they disappeared into silence, the times they brushed off your feelings, the times they used you as a place to dump all their stress and then walked away. You only talk about yourself. "I should not have said that. I should not have looked like I needed them that much. I should have stayed calm and cool, then they would not have left." If it is about family, the story can feel even heavier. If my parents said that, they must be right. I am the failure child. Maybe I really am the problem in this family. If it is about work, I must really be useless if my boss said that in front of everyone. I really am not good enough. their criticism makes sense. Over time, the story stops being, "they hurt me." It turns into, "there is something wrong with me. That is why they did that." Epictetus has a very famous quote, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This line is often misunderstood as, whatever happens does not matter as long as you react well. From there, many people use it to beat themselves up. "I must have reacted the wrong way. That's why I lost everything." But if you look more closely, Epictetus never says, "If the result is bad, it means you are bad." He only reminds you of something else. You cannot go back and change the event, but you can choose how you live with it from now on. Your reaction matters. Not so you can punish yourself, but because your reaction is the part that is still in your hands when everything else is already out of your control. Imagine a simple therapy scene. Someone is sitting on a couch in a therapist's office in New York. Outside the window are the lights of tall buildings. Inside, the room is warm with soft yellow light, and a cup of tea is still steaming. This person is talking about a relationship where they tried their very best. They talk about all the times they apologized, all the times they took all the blame, even the times they stayed silent just to keep the peace. In the end, they say something very soft but very heavy. Maybe it was all my fault. Maybe I'm just too much, too emotional, too difficult to love. The therapist does not rush to say, "It is not your fault, just forget it." They often ask another question. If a close friend of yours told you the exact same story, would you say to them, "It is all your fault"? Most people give a bitter little laugh and answer, "No," I would tell them they already tried too hard. Then the therapist might gently point out, "So why are you willing to treat yourself worse than you treat the people you love?" That is the moment you realize, this habit of taking all the blame is not maturity. It is a kind of emotional violence. Only this time the one holding the whip is you. Stoicism puts a lot of weight on personal responsibility. But responsibility does not mean carry everything. Responsibility is, which part of this was my choice, my action, my reaction? I will look at that part directly and I will learn from it. Carrying everything is, no matter what other people did, I will always find a way to conclude that I deserved it. A Stoic person will draw a very clear line. The part that is mine, what I said, what I did, the fact that I stayed too long in a place where I was no longer respected, the times I ignored red flags, the part that is not mine, other people's lack of respect, the way they chose to speak to humiliate me, their selfishness, their cruelty, their indifference, their own old wounds that they dumped on me. You can take responsibility for the fact that you stayed. You do not have to take responsibility for how they treated you. You can learn from the fact that you stayed silent for too long. You do not have to carry the other person's cruelty. You can look honestly at how you reacted in anger. You do not have to turn that one reaction into proof that I am a bad person. A Stoic does not avoid their part. They are willing to say, "Yes, I was wrong there. I was impatient. I was immature." But they stop at a boundary. The bad behavior of other people belongs to them. I will not accept it as a verdict on who I am. In the room where you are lying right now, you may be replaying a very old story. Every time you replay it, you quietly put on the prisoner's uniform, step into the middle of the courtroom, and listen to the sentence. It is all your fault. Tonight, try changing that a little. Imagine there are two chairs in this room. One chair for the you of today, the one who has gone through everything, who is lying here, listening to 432 Hertz, wanting to heal. One chair for the you of that day, the one standing in the middle of the argument, in the middle of the breakup, in the middle of that humiliating meeting. If the you of today walked over to that other chair and looked straight at that wounded version of yourself, would you really say to them, "It is all your fault. You deserved it"? Or would you say something else? "You really did try your best. You did not deserve to be treated like that. You are not perfect, but no one deserves to be treated like trash just because they are not perfect." When you say, "It is all my fault," you're leaving the other person's chair empty. You pull all the stage lights on yourself, and by accident you make their behavior look reasonable. "They did that because I am terrible." It sounds familiar, right? But if you look more closely, that sentence is exactly what kept you in places that hurt you far longer than necessary. If everything is your fault, then you have no right to be angry, no right to leave, no right to set boundaries. Stoicism does not encourage you to sit there and throw all blame onto others and see yourself as a permanent victim. But Stoicism also does not ask you to become a trash can that holds all the guilt. What they suggest is simple. Be fair with yourself. Being fair with yourself means look directly at the places where you need to grow. At the same time, look directly at the places where others were not kind to you and call it what it is, not to feed hatred, but so that you do not use other people's cruelty as a reason to keep being cruel to yourself. Tonight, in this quiet room, you can start with one very small sentence. Not everything is my fault. Not to erase the part that is yours, but to make space for another truth. There are people who did not know how to love, did not know how to respect, did not know how to handle themselves. I stood close to them and I was hurt by that. But that does not mean I deserved it. Place your hand on your chest if it feels okay. Feel your heartbeat, not perfect, sometimes irregular, but still patiently beating, one beat after another, to carry you all the way to tonight. This heartbeat does not belong only to a guilty person. It belongs to someone who has gone through more than anyone knows. You can close your eyes for a moment, breathe in deeply, and breathe out more slowly. With each breath out, imagine you are gently pulling a few lines of "It is all my fault, it is all my fault" out of the wound. You do not have to replace them with some beautiful affirmation, just something more honest. I have my part, but it is not everything. In the next part, we will move into something very important in Stoicism: inner boundaries, where you learn to separate yourself from what others did to you and begin a new story. You are not what they did to you. For now, this is enough. Do not judge yourself more harshly than any court that has ever existed in the outside world. You have been through enough already. From here on, we will learn to stand on your side, not in line with the people who hurt you. There is something very hard to believe, especially when you have been hurt many times, that you and the way people treat you are not the same thing. This is especially hard when the hurt comes from the people closest to you: family, partners, close friends, bosses, the people who were supposed to be safe. If a stranger on the street said to you, "You're worthless," you might feel upset, but a few hours later you would forget their face. But if that sentence comes from someone you love, someone you call home, or someone your career depends on, it is no longer just a sentence. It becomes a mirror. And every time you look into that mirror, you see a twisted version of yourself. Small, awful, not good for anything. Slowly, you cannot tell the difference anymore between how they treat you and who you believe you are. You get ghosted after a relationship you thought was serious. You start to think, maybe I'm not even worth a proper goodbye. You get yelled at and shamed in front of coworkers. You start to think, maybe I really am useless, that is why they did that. You grow up in a family that dismisses your feelings. You start to think, maybe my feelings are by nature annoying and wrong. Each action from others, each sentence, each cold shoulder, each long silence slowly walks into your inner world and builds a new voice in your mind. At first, that voice sounds like them. Over time, it sounds like you. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Choose not to be harmed, and you won't feel harmed. Don't feel harmed, and you haven't been." At first glance, this line can trigger resistance. Wait, someone hurts me, betrays me, humiliates me, and now I am supposed to choose not to be harmed? Does that mean I should pretend I do not feel anything? But if you read it in the spirit of Stoicism, Marcus is not telling you to deny reality. He is pointing at something else, inner boundaries. You cannot always choose what people will do to you, what they will say, when they will leave. But you do have a right that you may have forgotten over the years. The right not to let other people's behavior become your identity. Choose not to be harmed does not mean pretend nothing happened. It means do not allow what they did to become the story you tell about yourself forever. Imagine you are standing at the door of your apartment. Outside is the whole world. Good people, hurt people, people who do not know how to love, people who are wounded and end up wounding others. They can say something that hurts. They can leave in a terrible way. They can treat you unfairly. That is all outside the door. Inside the apartment, your inner space, you still have the right to decide who is allowed to step in, who is allowed to stay, who only gets to knock and then leave. For many years, you may have unknowingly done something else. Every time someone hurt you, you not only opened the door, you also handed them a chair, sat them right in the middle of your inner room, and let them talk about you endlessly, day after day, through your own voice. Stoicism does not say, never let anyone touch you, never trust anyone, never love anyone. It only reminds you of a soft but clear boundary. What comes in from outside, other people's actions, and what you choose to keep inside, your beliefs about yourself. Epictetus opens his Enchiridion with a very simple truth. Some things are in our control and others not. What other people do, how they speak, their kindness or their cruelty. Unfortunately, those things are not in your control. But what you believe about yourself after those events, what you repeat to yourself at night, what you allow to become absolute truth about who you are, that part over time becomes your responsibility. Tonight, in your room, with city lights glowing faintly through the curtains, with the sound of the air conditioner and distant traffic, you can take another look at that boundary. There are sentences that hurt you long ago that you still remember word for word. You're too much. You're not enough. Nobody will ever love you like I did. You're overreacting. You're so dramatic. Every time you repeat them in your head, you're letting that person's voice keep a permanent seat inside your inner apartment. A Stoic boundary is not a thick, cold wall that no one can get through. It is more like a gentle but very clear guard standing at the door of your mind. This guard does not chase away your feelings. They simply ask each thing that comes in. This sentence, this action, what does it say about them and what does it say about me? If someone yells and humiliates you in front of others, what does that say about them? Maybe they lack communication skills, they cannot control their anger, they do not respect people. If your ex ghosted you instead of saying a decent goodbye, what does that say about them? Maybe they are afraid of confrontation, they do not have the courage to take responsibility for their own feelings. If your family always dismisses your emotions, what does that say about them? Maybe they grew up in an even harsher environment. They were never taught how to listen to feelings, and now they unconsciously repeat that pattern. None of those things automatically become your nature unless you invite them through the door, stick them on your walls, and call them the mirror. When Marcus says, "Choose not to be harmed," he is not asking you to freeze. He is reminding you, you can stop merging yourself with other people's actions. You can still hurt. You can still cry. You can still miss someone. But underneath all of that, you still have the right to say, "They hurt me, but I am not their cruelty. I am not their weakness. I am not the worst day of their life that they dumped on me." Sometimes boundaries do not start with block, unfriend, or cut off, even though those might be necessary. Boundaries often begin with a very quiet sentence in your mind. What they did reflects them. How I live after that reflects me. You can picture someone who hurt you, not to dissect them, but to separate them from you. An ex, a family member, a boss, anyone whose name still makes your chest tighten. Let them stand on one side. Let yourself stand on the other. You are no longer one blended shape. You look. They have wounds, lacks, fears they never learned to handle, so they threw them all at you. You also have your own wounds and fears, but you are here tonight choosing to sit with them, choosing to heal them in a way that hurts fewer people. Even if your body looks the same, your apartment looks the same, your bed looks the same, the person lying on this bed tonight is not the same completely helpless version as before. The fact that you want to understand, to heal, to step out of the old loop already shows you are not like them. You cannot go back and change what they did, but you can start changing how you receive it. Not every criticism is accurate feedback. Not every "you're too much" is an objective verdict on your worth. Tonight, you can do a very small ritual. Picture all the sentences that hurt you written on small pieces of paper. Too much, not enough, unlovable, difficult, crazy, overreacting. Those pieces of paper are taped all over the walls inside your inner apartment. You do not have to rip them down in rage. You simply walk up to them and gently peel them off one by one. Not because they were never said, but because the person who wrote these words on my walls did not understand me well enough and did not love me well enough to earn the right to leave permanent marks here. You can replace them with new pieces of paper. They do not have to be pink slogans or fake positivity. Just something more honest. I am learning. I am worthy of respect. My feelings matter. I can grow without hating myself. In the dark of your physical room, you cannot see those inner papers, but you can feel their effect. When your walls are full of toxic sentences, whatever happens, you read it through the lens. This happened because I am bad. When the walls are cleared a little, you have more space to see events a bit more clearly, to ask, what does this say about me? What does this say about them? And which part will I not bring into my home anymore? Take a few seconds to come back to your body. Feel the mattress under your back, the weight of your body on the bed, the blanket touching your shoulders, your arms, your legs. The sound of the fan, the air conditioner, the city in the distance, all of that is outside the boundary of your room. Inside, right now, no one is yelling in your face. No one is humiliating you. No one is ghosting you. If there is any voice hurting you, it is coming from inside. From the sentences others once left behind that you accidentally believed were yours. Tonight, you can start very small. Each time you hear an old sentence, try adding one more line after it. That is how they saw me, but it is not the whole truth about me. That is the first step of a Stoic boundary, separating other people's eyes from who you are. In the next part, we will go deeper into something important: how wounds do not have to be only a prison, but can become a teacher. Like a volcano that has already erupted, and on that ground, something calmer and stronger can grow. For now, breathe a little slower. Breathe in, breathe out longer, and remind yourself very softly: tonight, I am not what they did to me. I am the one choosing how to walk forward from here. There is a very strange stage in healing. It is when you realize you no longer want to stay in the role of victim, but you are also not ready to say, "Thank you for hurting me. Because of that, I became stronger." To be honest, a lot of inspirational lines can feel a little toxic when you are still in pain. When the wound is still fresh, when your chest still tightens every time you remember, every "this made you stronger" sounds like being forced to take medicine too early. Stoicism does not ask you to be grateful for your pain. It gently offers another possibility, that a wound can be a prison, but it can also become a classroom. And you can either be the person who stays locked in there forever, or the person who one day stands up, turns on the light, and starts to observe. What have I learned from here? Seneca wrote, "Difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body." This sentence does not say everything that happens is good. It says, once something has already happened, if I am willing to look at it, my mind can be trained by it. If you think back to the worst stretches of your life, the relationships that fell apart, the days of exhaustion, the nights sitting alone on the couch in your small apartment, staring at the TV screen without really watching anything, you might notice something. You did not come out of those times like someone walking out of a spa. You came out like someone who has survived a storm, messy, tired, scraped up, but a little different than before. That different part is easy to miss. It often hides behind the feeling, I am completely ruined. But if you sit with yourself for a moment, like tonight, with the bed, the blanket, the dim light, you can start to see what has changed inside you. Not in a fake, positive way, but in small, very practical ways. For example, before that bad relationship, you might have thought, as long as they love me, that is enough. After going through it, you realized you need respect, safety, the feeling of being listened to, not just a few "I love you" texts when everything else is unhealthy. Before burning out at work, you might have believed, I just need to push a little more. Burnout only happens because I am weak. After you crash once, you learn to look at your calendar differently. You learn to say no. You dare to shut your laptop earlier. You start placing your health on the same level as your KPIs. Before all the years of having your feelings dismissed in your family, you might have believed, my emotions do not matter. Later, when you look back from a distance, you start to see, I actually have a deep capacity to feel. I just have not found the right environment to place it in. Those lessons do not make what happened okay, but they give you back something important, a sense of agency. The wound is a prison when every sentence you say is, "They did this to me, so my life is over and there is nothing I can do." The wound starts to become a teacher when that sentence shifts into, "That happened, I cannot change it, but it showed me very clearly a few things about how I need to live differently from here." Imagine another evening, not tonight, but some day in the future. You are sitting in a quiet coffee shop on a street corner. Outside, the air is a little cold. On the table is a warm cup of coffee, a small notebook, a pen. You open the notebook, and for the first time, you are not using it to recount every detail of how badly you were treated. You write a different question. From the painful things I have been through, what have I learned about how I need to treat myself? This is when the wound starts to change roles, from holding the whip to sending a signal. For example, a wound from being constantly dismissed teaches you that your voice matters. Next time, when you step into a relationship or a new environment, you will pay closer attention to whether the other person actually listens. A wound from being ghosted, left without any explanation, teaches you that you need responsible connection. Next time, when you see someone avoid every difficult conversation, you will recognize it as a red flag, not a cute personality trait. A wound from having to be the strong one in your family teaches you that your vulnerability is real. In new connections, you will carefully look for people who can hold space for that part of you, or you will learn to hold that space for yourself. Stoicism does not tell you, just thank your pain, it is good for you. It says, once you could not avoid it, do not let it pass without you taking anything back. Not taking back something through revenge, but by letting what you have lived through turn into your own wisdom. Not the wisdom in books, not a quote on Instagram, a kind of wisdom in your bones, the way your body reacts when something feels off, the way you know, I have already lived through one version of this, I know where it goes. This time I choose differently. Tonight, you do not have to answer the question, what has this wound taught me? Right now, the wound may simply be painful. But you can plant a very small seed that one day, when this pain is no longer as sharp as it is now, you will come back, not only to cry, but also to recognize, who did I become after this? To make this less abstract, here are a few gentle questions you might use later when you are more ready. Or tonight, you can simply hear them and let them drift by. From that experience, what did I learn about what I can no longer accept in my future relationships? From that experience, what did I learn about which parts of me need more protection? From that experience, what did I learn about the kind of love I truly want, instead of thinking any form of love is good enough? From that wound, what have I learned about the fact that the people I love are also carrying their own wounds? You do not have to have the answers yet. Sometimes simply asking the questions is already like opening a window in a sealed room. When Seneca says, difficulties strengthen the mind, it does not mean that if you do not feel stronger yet, you are doing healing wrong. It simply means that each time you move through a storm, your mind is no longer the mind of the person you were before the storm. You may not see it clearly while the water is still high, but one day when the water recedes, you will notice there are things that no longer knock you down in the old way. Not because you are numb, but because you know more clearly who you are and what you will not accept. That is a sign of inner strength, the quiet strength Stoicism talks about. Inner strength is not about having no feelings, no pain, or needing no one. Inner strength is what shows up when the wound starts hurting and you stay with yourself. You do not abandon yourself again. You do not stand on the side of the people who hurt you. You do not use your old pain as an excuse to hurt others. It is the way you treat yourself when no one is watching. In this room, at night, when it is just you, the bed, the soft light from your screen, the distant sound of cars outside the window, inner strength is. You choose to speak to yourself a little more gently. You choose to slow your breathing instead of drowning yourself in harsh thoughts. You choose not to replay other people's words as absolute truth anymore. The wound is still there. It does not vanish. But it starts to switch roles, from the prison guard to the one that quietly asks, next time, which path will we take instead? Before we move into the next part, where we talk about simple, concrete practices for rebuilding inner strength day by day, you can give yourself a very quiet moment. Close your eyes if that feels okay. Place one hand on your chest and one hand on your belly. Feel your heartbeat. Feel your belly rise when you inhale and fall when you exhale. You can whisper or just think a very short line. I have been hurt, but I am not only that wound. Slowly, I will learn what I need to learn. Then let that sentence go. Do not cling to it. Do not repeat it over and over. Just let it drop into this room like a small stone falling into water, sending out a few ripples, then letting the surface become calm again. Tonight, your wound does not have to become a gift. It does not have to become something wonderful. It only needs to stop choking you quite so much so that underneath it, your inner strength, that quiet strength inside you, has a little more space to breathe. In the next part, we will talk about very small, very ordinary steps you can take right in the middle of your busy days, your tired days, your aching days. Steps that, over time, move you farther away from the old prison and a little closer to yourself. At this point, you might hear a question forming in your mind. This all makes sense when I listen. But when I wake up tomorrow, how am I supposed to live? Is there anything I can actually do, or is this just mental comfort, and then everything goes back to the same? Inner strength does not appear after one sleepless night listening to philosophy. It does not come from a single breakthrough moment, a viral quote, or forcing yourself to forgive when your heart is not ready. Inner strength is usually built from things that look very boring. Small choices repeated over and over, steps no one else sees, things you do alone in your silent apartment after work, writing something down in a notebook, or simply not reacting in the old way. Epictetus said, "No great thing is created suddenly." Healing is the same. Healing is not an event. It is more like a habit. Tonight, I want to walk with you through a few very small, very practical Stoic practices that do not require you to feel motivated. They only ask that you are still breathing. You do not have to do all of them. You do not have to start tomorrow. Just listen and notice if there is one practice where you feel, okay, that one I might be able to try. You do not need a pretty journal. You do not need to write a full page. Just imagine that before turning off the light, or like tonight as you lie here listening, you take a few minutes to answer 3 very small questions in your mind or on paper. 1. Today, what touched my old wound? 2. In that situation, what was within my control? 3. What was not within my control? Epictetus begins the Enchiridion with, "Some things are in our control and others not." For example, today, your boss sent an email with a very cold tone. You read it, and the old wound of being dismissed started throbbing. You spent the evening thinking, "I really am useless." For question 1, you might write, "Today I was triggered by my boss's email." For question 2, "In my control, how I respond to that email, how I prepare my work, how I care for myself after a rough day." For question 3, "Not in my control, my boss's mood, the words they choose, whatever is happening in their life that made them write like that." Separating these 3 is already a Stoic practice. You are not denying, "That email hurt me," but you are also not pulling everything back onto your own shoulders. If you do not have a notebook tonight, that is okay. You can simply whisper these answers in your mind about your day. Day by day, your mind will get used to asking, "This part is mine, that part I need to hand back to the world." Most new wounds are repeated versions of an old pattern, only with different people, different settings. Someone says something that hurts, and you react in the usual way. You snap back, you send a long text that fills the whole screen, or you shut down and disappear. Stoicism does not tell you, "Do not react." It suggests something much smaller: do not react immediately. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." One part of power over your mind is the ability to create a small gap between stimulus and response. In daily life, that gap can be so small you do not notice it. Email comes in, your chest tightens, you reply in panic. Message comes in, your wound is touched, you type a very long reply, hit send, then regret it. Starting tomorrow, or whenever you feel ready, you can try a tiny practice. Before reacting to something that hits your wound, pause for 3 breaths. You do not need a formal meditation. Just breathe in slowly through your nose. Hold for a moment. Breathe out longer than you breathed in. During those 3 breaths, imagine you're doing one thing: tidying up your inner yard before opening the door to talk to the outside world. You do not have to find the perfect response. You only need to stop letting your old reaction, the one programmed by years of being hurt, drive the car for you. 3 breaths will not erase the pain, but they are enough to remind you, wait, I am not the old version of me anymore. I have the right to choose how I answer. Tonight, even if there is nothing to respond to, you can rehearse this 3-breath pause right here in bed. Breathe in, hold for a beat, breathe out longer. That, too, is a micro version of inner strength. Some wounds do not come from one big shock. They come from hundreds of times you did not dare to say no. No to late-night calls from someone who has already hurt you. No to disrespectful jokes at work. No to answering work emails at 11 at night. You do not have to suddenly cut everyone off, wipe your socials, and block the whole world. Sometimes inner strength begins with mini boundaries. Muting a group chat that drains you, at least after 10 at night. Letting a difficult email wait until tomorrow instead of replying in a panic at midnight. Not replying to a message from someone who has disappeared on you many times and only comes back when they feel lonely. There is a line that fits the age of social media. If you don't know where you are going, you will end up someplace else. If you do not know what you allow into your time, your energy, your headspace, you will automatically live according to other people's needs. A small no is not only protecting yourself from others, It is also a way of saying yes to yourself. Yes to tonight's sleep. Yes to a quiet evening without checking every notification. Yes to the feeling, I am no longer the person who must respond to everything immediately. You do not have to say no with drama. Sometimes a simple scene, a quiet pause, or a calm line like, "Hey, I can't do this tonight," is already a soft but clear boundary. Tonight, as you lie here, you can think about one small thing you might not do tomorrow. Not answer, not join, not overextend for. Not to run away, but to free a little bit of space for yourself. It sounds backwards, but Stoics often imagine worse scenarios than the present. Not to scare themselves, but to see clearly. I have already survived more than I give myself credit for. For example, if you had not left that relationship, you might be in a much worse place now. If you had not quit that job, your mental health might have collapsed long ago. If you had not stopped when you did, your wound might have turned into harm that you pass on to others. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself of the fragility of everything so he would not take anything for granted. When you look at your own life through negative visualization, it is not to say, well, at least I am still here, so I should be grateful for everything. It is to gently admit, I have made it through all of this. Maybe I am not as weak as I tell myself every night. You do not need paper for this. You can simply lie here, look at the ceiling, and walk through a timeline in your mind. Back then, this is where I was. Now, this is where I am. I am still in pain, but I am no longer the completely powerless version of me from back then. That is enough. You do not have to smile. You do not have to feel grateful for life. You only need to swap the sentence, I have done nothing, for I have survived a lot. After deep hurt, the natural reflex is to pull back. Do not love anymore. Do not trust anyone. Do not share honestly. Stay silent. Stay safe. Let no one touch you. For a while, that can be necessary. That is your cave, your shelter from the storm. But if you stay in the cave too long, any light becomes too bright. Any good person who knocks on the door feels dangerous. Inner strength is not only about building boundaries, it is also about being able to step out of the cave again more carefully and more wisely. Not through big leaps, but through small contacts. Sending a message to a friend you trust as safe, just to check in without telling them everything. Accepting an invitation for coffee with someone you feel okay about, while giving yourself permission to leave early if it does not feel right. Booking a therapy session, even just one, as a way of sending a signal to yourself. I am worthy of support. If you live in a busy city, taking a slow walk through a park, watching people walk their dogs, children running around, apartment windows lit up, to remind yourself, life is still happening outside my own story. These small contacts do not erase your pain, but they train a muscle, the muscle of showing up to life again even after life has hurt you. When you reach the later part of this journey, where we talk about trusting again, loving again, opening your door again, these small steps will be your foundation. You do not have to become an open person overnight. You only need to make sure your wound does not keep you permanently outside of life. Listening to all of this, you might feel a little overwhelmed. Journaling, boundaries, breathing, negative visualization, small contacts, it is a lot. But healing does not ask you to do everything at once. Inner strength does not need to be posted online. It does not need applause. It shows up in moments no one sees. You choose to go to bed a little earlier instead of digging deeper into old wounds on the internet. You choose not to reply to a message you know will pull you back into the same cycle. You choose to write down one line about what you feel instead of pretending nothing is wrong. You choose 3 breaths before answering an email that stings. Each time you do something like that, you send yourself a signal. I am someone worth taking care of. I am someone worth protecting. I am no longer leaving myself behind the way I used to. Tonight, in this room, you do not need to decide everything. Just let the practices that feel lightest, closest, most real to you echo quietly in your mind. Maybe it is just, tomorrow I will try writing 3 lines before bed. Or, tomorrow, if I get triggered, I will try pausing for 3 breaths. That is all. The rest we can add slowly on other nights when you have a little more strength. Inner strength is not about always being steady. It is about your ability to return to these small practices even after days when you think you have gone back to zero. Because in truth, there is no zero anymore. Every time you choose to be a little kinder to yourself, your whole inner system has already shifted. In the next part, we will talk about a very sensitive area. How one day you might be able to trust again, love again, open the door for someone to step in, but this time with a different inner strength, not to prove that you are strong, but so you will not lose yourself in anyone ever again. For now, you can give yourself a few slow breaths and let these ideas drift through your mind like clouds. You do not have to remember everything. You do not have to hold on. Your body will remember how to breathe. Your mind will remember the feeling of being treated a little more gently. That alone is already a Stoic practice for tonight. There is something people do not often say out loud, but you and I both know it. After you've been hurt enough times, the problem is not only, I am still in pain. The problem is that you do not believe in beautiful things the way you used to. You do not believe in love. You do not believe someone can really stay. You do not trust, I care about you, even when it sounds sincere. Because you have heard those exact words from people who left in very painful ways. Maybe there was a moment you opened a dating app, watched faces slide past, read bios that all sounded similar, and quietly asked yourself, do I actually want connection, or am I just trying to fill this emptiness? Maybe there was a time you were lying on the couch in a new relationship. The person next to you had not done anything wrong, but every time they went quiet, every time they replied a little slower, your heart jumped, as if it was getting ready for another abandonment. The wound is not only in the past, it lives in the way you see everything new. Stoicism does not romanticize opening your heart. It does not tell you, just trust and the universe will handle the rest. Stoics look at life exactly as it is. Humans are imperfect, the world is uncertain, and every connection carries some risk. Marcus Aurelius wrote, when you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love. Even in a world full of uncertainty, Marcus still saw to love and be loved as part of that privilege. So how does someone who has been hurt dare to love again, dare to trust again without betraying themselves? Not by going back to being naive, but by walking into everything with a wiser heart. In the past, you may have stepped into a relationship with everything you had. All your expectations, all your fears, all your empty spaces. You handed the other person the key to your inner apartment with no conditions attached. You believed, if I just love enough, if I try hard enough, if I am kind enough, They will not hurt me. You used your heart like an insurance policy. And when everything broke, you did not just lose the relationship. You also lost your faith in the value of that heart. Naive looks like that. Walking into something, leaving all your own protection at the door, trusting that someone else will keep you safe. Wise is different. Wise is not locking every door, sitting alone in your apartment, looking out at the street and saying, "No one is worth trusting." Wise is stepping outside with a light coat, knowing it might rain, and still accepting that you will walk for a while anyway. Wise is this: you can still love, you can still trust, but you do not put all of your inner life on the table just to prove something. You do not love to prove that you are worthy. You love because you are human. Because as Marcus said, to be able to love and to be loved is part of the privilege of being alive. One of the mistakes that hurts you more is trying to return to the version of me before the wound. The version who trusted people without any conditions, who did not know what to be afraid of. You cannot go back there, and honestly, you do not need to. You do not need to trust in a way that says, no matter how many red flags there are, I will ignore them as long as they say they love me. Trust after you have been hurt can look very different. You notice a small red flag, and instead of looking away, you register it. You do not jump in all the way at once. You watch how this person handles conflict, how they apologize, how they care for your emotions when things are not easy. You do not dump all of your wounds on the table at the first moment, but you also do not pretend to be cool, chill. I do not need anyone. You let them see your soft places slowly, and you watch what they do with them. You trust again, but at your own pace, with your own standards, with the boundaries you learned from your old wounds. Stoicism does not teach you to stand above life and stay cold. It does not teach you to never need anyone. It teaches you not to lose yourself inside anyone. You can love deeply, but you do not erase yourself to keep that love. If you have to choose between betraying yourself and letting someone go, you choose the second one. With a lot of pain, yes, but no longer abandoning yourself the way you once did. 3. Inner strength in love is not, I do not need anyone. It is, I dare to need, but I do not beg. After being hurt, many people choose a kind of fake inner strength. I do not need anyone. Relationships are pointless. Only money does not betray you. It is better to stay alone than to deal with anyone. Those sentences are partly honest and partly armor. Stoics do not force you to be in a relationship. No one can force you to date if you are not ready. But if deep down you still wish that one day someone could sit next to you on this couch under this warm light and say, I understand, I am here, then the truth is, you still need connection. Real inner strength does not come from denying that need. It comes from not selling yourself cheaply to get it. You can need someone, but you do not beg them to stay at any cost. You can feel lonely, but you do not accept any kind of treatment just because you are afraid of being alone. Inner strength in love is when you can say, I want to be loved. I want to be chosen. I want someone by my side. But if that means going back to the old place, where I'm always wrong, always apologizing, always carrying everything, then I would rather be by myself a little longer. That is not arrogance. That is respect for everything you have already survived. A very common wound after being hurt is this. Every time someone is kind to you, you immediately think, what do they want? They are just pretending. They will show their true colors soon. part of that doubt is understandable. You're trying to protect yourself. But if it goes too far, it becomes another prison, a prison where every act of kindness is treated like a trap. Stoicism reminds us, look at things as they are, not rosier than they are, but not darker either. When someone does something kind for you, a coworker helps you fix a file, a friend brings you coffee when you are tired, someone new texts to ask if you're okay, try giving yourself permission to receive it, at least in the moment it is happening, without immediately turning it into strategy or manipulation. You do not need to believe they will be kind to you forever. You only need to believe, in this moment they are being kind. And I deserve to receive that without paying for it by betraying myself. This is a kind of training yourself to tolerate comfort without destroying it just because you're not used to it. If tonight there is no one in your life being kind to you in that way, then the fact that you are lying here, allowing yourself to listen to a long, gentle voice meant to soothe you, is already a step. You are allowing a small act of kindness to touch you, even if it comes from a distant voice on a night no one else knows about. They're a kind of trust that often breaks before trust in others does. It is trust in yourself. After choosing the wrong people, staying too long in places that hurt you, you may start to think, my taste is broken. I do not know how to choose people. I should not trust my own feelings anymore. So every time your feelings say, this person seems safe, this place feels right, you shut that feeling down because you do not trust yourself anymore. Real inner strength starts from a much more humble place. You do not promise, next time I will definitely choose the right person. You promise, if next time I choose wrong, I will leave earlier. I will protect myself better. I will not abandon myself again. You cannot guarantee that from now on every choice will be perfect, but you can decide, whatever happens, I will stand on my own side. Trust in yourself does not come from always being right. It comes from refusing to throw yourself away when you are wrong. Tonight, if the idea of trusting someone else again feels too far away, you can start much closer. Trust that even if tomorrow is a bad day, even if you repeat an old pattern, you will still come back to yourself at night on this bed and say, okay, I tripped again. But I'm not going to tear myself apart like before. I will look at it, learn a little more, and try again tomorrow. In the soft light of your room, with the distant sound of traffic, your phone screen may already be dark, and only this voice is still here with you. You do not have to decide tonight that you will love again, trust again. You only need to admit one very small thing. Maybe one day I will not be this afraid of connection anymore. And if that day comes, I want to walk into it with a heart that is no longer naive, but not frozen either. A heart that is wiser, kinder to itself, and no longer loses itself inside anyone. In the next part, we will walk together into a very private moment, a meeting between the you of today and the you from back then, the version who was hurt the most. Not to dig everything up again, but so you can, for the first time, stand on the side of the one who survived, rest your hand on your own shoulder, and say the words no one said to you back then. For now, take a few slow breaths, as if you are quietly tidying the room before meeting someone very important, the you from the past. So far tonight, we have talked a lot about other people, the ones who hurt you, the ones who left, the ones who did not know how to keep you. But there is one character who has been sitting silently in the story the whole time. That is the you from back then. The version who stood in the middle of the wreckage, who cried until their voice went hoarse, who sent long messages that never got a reply, who tried to fix everything, who put all of their self-worth on the table, just hoping the other person would not leave. If you close your eyes for a moment, you will remember at least one scene like that. Maybe it was an evening in a living room, warm light on the wall, you on the couch, phone in your hand, eyes locked on the screen, waiting for a scene to turn into a line of text. Maybe it was a midday at the office, you in front of your computer, your throat burning after being yelled at in front of everyone, but your hands still typing the unfinished email as if nothing happened. Maybe it was a moment standing alone in a subway station, watching trains come and go, people getting on and off, while you felt like you did not belong anywhere at all. That version of you is still somewhere inside, not like a ghost, but like a child who is left in an old room, sitting with their knees pulled up, not understanding why everything happened, and even less understanding why, from that day until now, you yourself have been the one who keeps yelling at them the most. Tonight, in this quiet room, I want to invite you to do something small. Meet that person again, but this time not to judge them, to sit down beside them. Picture the room where it all broke. You do not have to remember every detail. Just choose one snapshot your mind can return to easily. It could be an old dorm room, the first apartment you lived in alone, your ex's living room, or even the room you are in right now, as it was a few years ago. Gently imagine that room at the moment everything broke. What did the light look like? What did the room smell like? Was there traffic noise or rain outside? What was on the table? A cold coffee, a bottle of wine, a half-eaten pizza, or just a glass of water? If that image makes your heart start to beat faster, come back to your breathing for a moment. Breathe in slowly, breathe out longer. Remind yourself, I am only remembering. I am not actually going back there. In that imagined room, look around and see where the you from back then is. On the sofa, curled up at the corner of the bed, leaning against the wall, eyes red, phone in hand. Let that image appear without editing it, without making it prettier. Let the you from back then show up exactly as they were. Two of you, two chairs in the same room. Now imagine the you from tonight walking into that room, not to change the past. Not to lecture, you should have done things differently. Just to step in, close the door softly, look around, pull a chair closer to the you from that time, and sit down. At first, they may not meet your eyes. They are used to being judged, to being criticized, even by you. You do not have to touch them yet. Just be there. It is like you're arriving late by a few years to a meeting, but you still decide to show up. You might want to say a lot. You should never have loved that person. You should not have stayed so long. You should have known how to leave sooner. But you have already said those sentences many times over the years. Tonight, we will try something else. Tonight, your job in that room is not to teach. It is to listen. Let your past self speak without interrupting. Imagine you could hear what that version of you is thinking. If they could speak it out loud, what would they say? Back then, I just wanted to be loved. At that time, I had no idea what to do. No one ever taught me how to leave. I really believed that if I tried a little harder, it would work. Maybe they would cry. Maybe their words would come out messy. Maybe they would stay quiet, eyes on the floor. You do not have to push. Just sit there in your real room, on your real bed, hearing the air conditioner, the far traffic outside the window, and imagine yourself listening to that old version of you pour their heart out. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Be tolerant with others and strict with yourself." You have done very well with the strict part. You've been so strict with yourself that it turned into cruelty. Tonight, try a little of the first part, but direct it at yourself. Be tolerant with the person you used to be, not to excuse everything, but to understand. At that time, with what they had lived through, with their knowledge, skills, age, with their fear of being left, that was the best they knew how to do. Not excellent, not perfect, but the best that version of you could manage with the fear and tools they had. If you can let that person say everything, even if it is only in your imagination, then tonight, for the first time, you are doing something no one did for you back then. Listening to you. Say to your past self what you needed to hear back then. When they have finished talking, or simply when you feel your mind is full enough, picture the you from tonight looking straight at them and saying a few short sentences. They do not have to be wise, they do not have to be philosophical, they do not have to be beautiful, Stoic quotes. They only need to be the sentences you know for sure would have made that time a little less terrible if someone had said them to you. Things like, back then you really did try your best. No one ever taught you how to love without abandoning yourself. What they did was truly wrong, and you did not deserve to be treated that way. Not everything was your fault. Even if you made mistakes, the way they treated you is still on them. If your throat tightens when you think about those sentences, that is okay. You do not have to say them out loud. Just think them and let them echo in that imagined room. Imagine that every sentence you speak is like a light blanket laid across their shoulders, not to erase all of the pain, but so they are not as cold and alone as before. You might feel like you do not deserve to hear those words. That is exactly the sign that you need to hear them, at least from yourself. Reconciliation, not erasure. Reconciliation does not mean deleting the past. It does not mean pretending nothing ever happened. It means you stop doing something very exhausting, standing here in the present, holding a knife, going back into the past, and punishing yourself forever for actions that belong to a time when you genuinely did not know how to act differently. Stoicism talks a lot about accepting what has happened, not because the world is always right, but because of this. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Marcus Aurelius. No one is asking you to see your wound as a gift, but if you could not avoid it, then from today onward you can choose. Instead of using this to lock myself up, I will use it as a marker so I do not walk down that exact same road again. Reconciliation with your past self is not saying, yes, what I did was right. It is saying, that was all you knew how to do at the time. From here on, with what you went through, I, the version who exists now, will choose to live differently. You cannot pull that person out of the past, but you can stop throwing them into the fire every time you remember. A small farewell before leaving the old room. At some point in your imagination, you will feel the meeting is enough for tonight. You do not have to fully reconcile everything in one session. Just like in real life, no single conversation fixes it all. Before you leave that room, try one more small thing. Picture yourself standing up from the chair, looking into the eyes of your past self, and saying a very short goodbye. Thank you for keeping us alive until now. From here on, I will take it from here. Tonight, you can rest a little. Maybe you imagine placing a hand on their shoulder or just nodding. Then you turn, walk to the door, your hand rests on the doorknob, you open it, step through. When you cross that threshold, you are not abandoning the past. You are simply reminding yourself, tonight I am returning to the present. I have stayed back there long enough. The door closes softly, not slammed, not violently cut off. Just closed the way you close a book. A book you can open again another day, but you do not need to reread all night long. Returning to the room you are actually in. Now bring your attention back to your real room. The ceiling above you, the cool air from the AC or the fan, the feeling of the mattress under your back, the pillow beneath your head, the blanket resting with a gentle weight on your body. You can wiggle your fingers, your toes, just to remind yourself, I am here, not in that old room anymore. Your past self is still somewhere in your memory, but tonight, for the first time in a long time, they have been heard, defended, treated more gently. You do not have to feel completely lighter. Healing rarely looks dramatic like a movie. Often it is just this feeling, okay, at least tonight I did not go back there to beat myself up again. That is already a quiet, important step on the path back to yourself. In the minutes left of this night, I do not want you to imagine anything else or go back to any old scenes. The next part is only for your body, for your breath, for your eyes slowly growing heavy on this pillow. No more digging, no more analyzing, no more meeting anyone. Only this, your old wounds getting to rest for a while, your mind softening bit by bit, and your body doing what it knows how to do, carrying you into sleep. We will move into that part right after this. We have walked through a lot tonight. The people who hurt you, the sentences you still remember, the times you took all the blame, the boundaries and small practices, and that very quiet meeting between the you of now and the you from back then. From this point on, you do not have to think about anything anymore. No more analyzing, no more remembering, no more trying to process every piece. The rest of this night is only for one thing: to let your mind slow down, to let your body rest, and to let your old wounds lie still for a while, like books that have been put back on the shelf and gently closed. First, bring all of your attention back to where you actually are. This small room, the ceiling above you, the cool air from the AC or the fan, the very soft light from your phone screen, from a crack under the door, from streetlights leaking through the curtains. You are not in any old room anymore. Not in your ex's living room, not in a meeting room, not in a dorm from years ago. You are here, on your own bed, in your own place, on a night where, no matter how much has happened, right now it is only you and the dark. Notice the sounds around you. The AC humming on the wall, the slow turning of a fan, the distant traffic outside the window. Maybe there is a neighbor, a footstep in the hallway, the city breathing very softly underneath everything. Life is still going on as it always does. Nothing urgent is demanding you right this second. Nothing needs your immediate reaction. For tonight, you are allowed to leave everything else outside the door of this apartment. Now let us come back to your breath. You do not have to breathe correctly. Just notice the natural rhythm that has been there all along. If it feels okay, you can gently close your eyes. If not, you can just let your gaze soften, looking vaguely at one point without focusing too hard. Try a simple pattern. Breathe in through your nose, counting quietly in your mind. 2, 3 to 4. hold very lightly at the top of the breath for 1 to 2. Then breathe out slowly, counting 1 to 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You do not have to be exact, you only need to keep one small principle. Let the exhale be longer than the inhale. Each time you breathe out, imagine putting down a little bit of the tension from today. A little worry, a little self-blame, a little heaviness in your chest. Breathing in, feel the cool air filling your body. Breathing out as if you are slipping a heavy backpack off your shoulders onto the floor. You do not have to carry it onto the bed. You do not have to drag it into sleep with you. Just a few more breaths like that. Slow, small, but steady. Now we will travel once through your body, from the top of your head all the way down to your toes. You do not need to move a lot. Just notice each part and give it permission to soften. If some places stay tight, that is okay. Simply knowing they are tight is already enough. Start with your forehead. Notice whether your forehead is creased or smooth. If it is still a little tense, imagine a very warm, gentle hand resting on your forehead and slowly stroking it down. You do not need to command it to relax, you are just sending a signal. It is safe to rest here. Move to your eyes and feel the weight of your eyelids. If your eyes are tired, let them grow heavier. You do not need to hold them open. You do not have to watch over anything anymore. Tonight, there is nothing so important that you have to sacrifice sleep for it. Slide down to your jaw and mouth. A lot of people hold tension in the jaw without realizing. Check if your teeth are pressed together. If they are, let your jaw loosen a little, like just before a yawn. Your tongue can relax, no longer glued to the roof of your mouth, and your lips can close gently. You do not have to grip any words tonight. No debates, no explanations, no defenses are needed. Move to your neck and the back of your head. This is where you have carried the weight of the whole day. The laptop, the phone, the thoughts, the sentences you swallowed. Imagine your pillow lifting your neck, taking some of that weight for you. If your neck feels bent or strained, make a very small adjustment to find a more comfortable spot. Now your shoulders. Shoulders are where we often carry things that are not ours. Worry for everyone, all the guilt, all the responsibility. Tonight, you do not have to carry anything. Picture both shoulders sinking deeper into the mattress as if someone has quietly walked in and taken that invisible backpack off your shoulders. You do not need to pick it up again right now. Tomorrow, if you truly need something from it, you can choose what to take. Bring attention to your arms and hands. Notice where your arms are resting. On the blanket, beside your body, maybe hugging a pillow. Feel the fabric against your skin and the gentle weight of your forearms and hands. If your hands have been typing, scrolling, driving, carrying bags all day, they can rest now. You can imagine saying to them, "Thank you for working all day. From here, it is the body's shift. Sleep will handle the rest." Bring your attention to your chest and notice your heartbeat. You do not have to measure it or count it exactly. Just feel that inside your rib cage, something is patiently beating, one beat after another, no matter what you have gone through. Maybe your heart is still a little fast. That is okay. With every long exhale, imagine placing a warm hand over your chest and saying, "It is okay now. Tonight, no one is coming in here to hurt us." Move down to your belly. Feel how it rises on the inhale and falls on the exhale. A lot of worry sits in the stomach, tight, heavy, uncomfortable. You do not have to force it away, just send it a message with each breath out. I see you. Tonight you are allowed to soften a little. Then your back and lower back. Feel how your back is supported by the mattress. Maybe you have been sitting all day, or standing, or walking, or carrying more than you should. Now your back does not need to hold anyone or anything. Let the muscles sink deeper into the bed, as if the mattress is slowly taking your shape and holding you. Move down into your hips, thighs, and knees. Feel the weight of your lower body. If your thighs are still a bit tense, let them go. You do not need to run anymore. You do not need to stand strong right now. Tonight, your ground is this mattress. Finally, your calves, ankles, feet, and toes. If you have been on your feet all day, you have arrived. Imagine your feet growing heavier and warmer, as if they are sinking into very soft sand. Safe and still, not pulling you anywhere, just cradling you. From the top of your head to the tips of your toes, your whole body has been checked in once. It does not have to be perfect. It only needs to be enough for your body to understand. Finally, it is my turn. The mind can rest now. This is my time to work, to heal, to renew, to let go. Before I leave you to your own rhythm of breathing, I want to softly repeat just 3 small truths from tonight. Not for you to memorize, only to let them pass through you once more and then drift away. First, you are not what they did to you. Cruel words, cruel actions, all the times you were left behind, they have left marks, but they are not the final definition of you. You are the person lying here tonight, choosing to look at everything in a gentler way. Second, pain and suffering are not the same. The pain happened, that part is real. But the long, ongoing suffering is all the times you retell the story from the side of the one who hurt you. Tonight, if you carry even a little less suffering, that is already a lot. Third, inner strength is not never hurting again. It is refusing to abandon yourself anymore. You may still feel the sting. You may still feel tired. Your heart may still feel heavy. But each time that happens, if you come back to yourself instead of turning on yourself, your inner strength is growing bit by bit. Now you do not need to think about any of this. Let these ideas pass like lights sliding across a car window at night, appearing, glowing for a moment, then disappearing. Come back again to the simple sensations in your body. Your forehead growing heavier, your eyelids heavier, your arms and legs sinking a little deeper into the mattress. Your breathing is slowing down on its own now, with no effort and no counting needed. If thoughts still appear, you do not have to push them away. Just notice them the way you might watch a bus passing on the street from your apartment balcony. It comes, it goes, and you do not have to get on. Every time you notice you have climbed into a thought, gently come back to one of 3 things: your breath, the feeling of your body on the bed, or the sounds in the room. That is enough. You do not have to do anything more complicated. Before your awareness starts to fade at the edges, you can whisper or just think quietly 1 short sentence, simple enough for your heart to hear. Tonight, I am letting my old wounds rest. Tomorrow, if needed, we can talk again. For now, I will let my body take care of sleep. You do not have to fully believe it or feel it deeply. Just let the words fall into this room. From here on, I will speak less. You can leave a few breaths between each sentence if you like. You are safe in this room. Your body knows how to sleep. Your heart has lived through more than people realize, and tonight it also deserves to rest. Let your eyes grow heavier. Let your breathing settle into its own rhythm. If sleep does not come right away, that is okay. As long as you are lying here, breathing, and not hurting yourself more, this night is already different from so many nights before. For the rest of the night, let your body do its work, soothing your nervous system, stitching up tiny tears, letting your heart beat a little slower and a little steadier. Your mind is allowed to go off duty. You do not have to stand guard anymore. If you still feel a little pain when you wake up tomorrow, that is okay too. Healing rarely happens in one night. But tonight you chose to walk with yourself instead of against yourself. And that choice alone is a very quiet, very brave step on the path of healing old wounds and finding your inner strength again. Now let everything gently fade.